Hey y'all, wanted to give a quick update. I made it through chemo number 3. I'm currently 25% done with my chemo treatments. Uh, One thing I had middle of last week, um, I did get a Charlie horse or a um, muscle spasm cramp in my right calf. Uh, Now, typically that's either a potassium or a magnesium um, deficiency. Uh, Now, thankfully, I actually had a friend and my wife order this, so I already had it. It's magnesium oil. I can't remember. Dr. Berg actually has a pretty good video on putting some on now as we speak. Uh, I think one is during. I think the potassium is during the day and magnesium at night. Regardless, it's terrible. It's painful. The muscle gets hard like a rock. Really painful. Woke me up. Hasn't repeated except for today. I had an afternoon session for chemo. That takes in total about, I think, 4 hours we were there between the waiting and getting all the different drugs. You get an anti um, nausea, you get a steroid um, to prep. They give you some saline. Um, and then I can't remember the two drugs. I'll detail more of that in a future video. But I did want to say a few things. So uh, I had very few steps this morning because work was very busy. I didn't do as long of a grounding. I do really enjoy that. Again, that's a low cost. I think I have less objective value, but I don't. I feel better. I wake up, thank Mother Earth, scream at the sky. Uh, you know, walk around barefoot in my underwear outside, giving the neighbor a little throw. Uh, so yeah, I did. I was this evening when I got back, been walking around while we still had sunlight, doing some work on the pasture, the Hark Homestead, Hark Haven Homestead, as I've named it myself unofficially. And I got a quick, like tweak. So I've added a little bit more of that magnesium. Uh, So a few things. So now I've gotten through 3 chemos. Side effects really have been minimal. Um, I did get some bouts of nausea, and that's in the second week. The first week, while taking the anti-nausea, it's really not happening. So one thing, I did get a message from my good friend Jesse in New York. He's a bold brother. Um, so we worked together 20 years ago. Man, has it been 20 years ago? Jesse, how did this happen? How did the time go so quick? I remember he always used to say 2 jokes that I use all the time. It's one, he's like, and oh, maybe that's a new program. I'm not even going to tell that one. But he was balding at the time. And when we would go out to happy hour on Thursday or Friday in Manhattan, it was really good times. I was this youngin', uh, listening to every word. Uh, he he would comb his hair and says, "Comb what's left." That's what Dad always said. Uh, of course, before this, I had long, luxurious hair. Uh, that was one thing. Looking back at my early videos, which almost kind of feels like a lifetime ago. I mean, this whole thing started um, 6 weeks ago. Is that right? February 1st. Um, anyway, I was just thinking about those good times. But he did send a thing where he's watching my videos, and I mentioned I'm doing bro. So understand my fast adding the bone broth in was a suggestion from my wife. Um, I don't have an objective way to measure autophagy. Um, Part of the protection I'm looking for, and that's very, very likely, is like, hey, you should probably, and again, my fasting, wraparound fasting for the chemo is mainly at this point not for weight loss. I'm really trying to maintain weight, especially muscle mass. I still got about 20, 25 pounds of fat to lose. And I do really feel like the 50 or so pounds I've lost off of my weight is all fat because my strength level is the same or better um, than when all this started. Um, uh, yeah, see, that's the chemo brain. Kind of lose track of what I was saying. Anyway, um, just for tonight. So, yeah, I've not been consistent on taking the bone broth. I do enjoy it. The two objective measures I have, and I'm trying to get into this therapeutic ketosis. Typically, and it's really trying to get my ketones high, um, like above 3. Right now, actually, my wife's about to check it. I'm at, so when you're above zero point 0.5 ketones, I can't remember I think it's um, milligrams per deciliter. I think I was 1.5 this morning, 1.3. Interestingly enough, last chemo session, my ketones went up to like 3 or 4. And typically, this is the thing about, right now I'm about 72 hours fasting. Incredibly hungry, um, really for what I would consider a long-term fast, which is more than 3 days. Like all the benefits, and for me, I do much better day 4, 5. By day 6, I kind of feel godlike. Where like I never need to eat again. It's a ridiculous feeling, but I do feel that way. Um, I've got terrible hunger pains today. Um, so yeah, I don't know if that drops me out of autophagy. Another thing I'm playing with, and that was my buddy Joe, has talked about the snake diet and dry fasting. I only did one 24-hour dry fast. And apparently, if you do intermittent, you can't do long-term dry fasting. I think you can do 24, 36 hours. It's actually really good. Interestingly enough, right after my buddy Joe mentioned that 2 or 3 weeks ago, and I did one day, Dr. Berg, if I ever get around to coming back and putting all the links in, did talk about how about 10% of your body water is actually from your fat stores. So when you burn fat, and you burn fat continually, like whether you're storing a majority of fat, your body still uses some fat. Is so 10% of the water that makes up your body is actually generated by this process. So autophagy is a huge issue, a huge benefit of fasting. Again, um, I'll talk more about it. I actually, um, another friend reached out to me, Heather. Um, uh, uh, she's been, a few people have gotten to me. My one friend AJ went out and got himself a Fitbit, so I'm glad to hear that. Like I said, I think everyone should uh, should be doing this, tracking this, especially like I go back now like 5 years. I can see. I'll talk more about that. My friend Kay, new coworker, he actually mentioned saying, he's a guy, he's like 30 years old. He started doing 6-month blood tests just to have that baseline. Great idea. So, like I've said, is a strong advocate of getting a functional medicine practitioner. Again, I would go to Integrative Healthcare of Huntsville and go see Brett if you're in this area. It's well worth it. Anyway, kind of was all over the place in this, but I wanted to let everyone know I'm doing good. I made it through 25% of it, and I'm still trying to figure stuff out on this journey. Oh, I'll do that in another video, but I actually got a continuous glucose monitor. Yeah, I can't even bend that good. Uh, Man, I got a lot to say about that one because I've already had some pretty disturbing results. Ooh, it makes it sound good, but maybe you'll anticipate the next video better. All right, everybody. That's all for now.